Hello, BookTube. Last week I had as one of my videos a December reading possibility, and that was Bell Redemption December. And in lieu of any other reading projects, I might try to do some in December, the reading event created by Bob the Booker, but I'm not entirely sure. I do know I'm going to do Bill Redemption December, so I'm going to go back over my sort of proposed TBR for that and some alternates depending on my mood. Because my nonfiction November has not turned out quite how I would hoped, and that might sort of necessitate some changes for some of my proposed uh, bail redemptions. So anyway, so let's recap, starting this time with the literary fiction or realistic fiction, or as Michael K. Vaughan would say, literature of the mundane. So I'm going to go with the one that I've been struggling with the longest, and that is Wonderland by Stacey D'Erasmo. This is a novel about a singer who's past her prime, who's trying to make a comeback and revisiting her life up to that point. I've tried this twice. The first time I bailed relatively quickly within the first chapter or two. The second time, I think I made it about a third, maybe almost a half of the way through before I bailed, and I'm hoping I can this time push myself to the finish line and maybe change my opinion on it. Hopefully, like it. But if I don't, or if I ultimately, or I mean, if this is a bail redemption rejection, or I don't exactly like the book, even if I finish it, then I will probably, the next time I get some boxes in, start a box specifically for donating to the Friends at the Library book sale, for which I have decided that I will be donating all of my ex-library copies to, because I don't think any of the other like used bookstores really all that fond of ex-library copies. So yeah, since it is Friends of the Library book sale, and they do sell ex-library copies, they'll probably take them. So yeah, hopefully I like it, and hopefully it's a bail redemption achieved. But if not, it will be part of a donation box. I'm also hoping to bail redeem from this year The Five Wounds by Kirsten Valdez Quade. This novel is an expansion of an earlier short story called The Five Wounds. That's about a no longer young man who's largely a bum, whose uncle has decided to try to motivate him to make something of himself by including him in a fraternal religious society whose highlight of the year is that one of their number reenacts the crucifixion literally. At the same time, this man's teenage daughter has run away from home and is seeking to move in with him, and she's pregnant, and the story goes from there. I'm hoping I have a better bail redemption than I did the first time I read it. I mean, I liked it, but it just, the main character is not terribly pleasant, and neither is his daughter. So we shall see. But I'm always hoping for success, and that my opinion will change. I'm also hoping to give a bail redemption to The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. This is the story of a family, mother and son, who are trying to come to terms with the loss of the father, husband of the family. And the boy copes by having conversations with inanimate objects, particularly a book that seems to be telling the story of his life, or at least his family's life. I know exactly why I bailed on this one. There's a scene where the book is telling the boy the story of how his parents met, and I did not like that scene at all. Hopefully, knowing that, I will be able to move past that scene without too much struggle, and the rest of the book turns out wonderfully. I did like what I was reading before that point, so hopefully getting past that point, I will enjoy the rest of the book. Moving to science fiction and fantasy, again, I'm hoping to have a better luck with The Promise of Space and Other Stories by James Patrick Kelly. This is a short story collection that came out in 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2018. And I read some of the stories and I didn't quite get on with it. And I'm hoping I have better luck with it. And we shall see. And I'm hoping to bail redeem the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. This is the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. Perhaps N.K. Jemisin's magnum opus. It won, or each volume in the series won the Hugo. I didn't quite get on with it when I read it in the summer of 2017. And I'm hoping a few years later I will have better luck with it. I do tend to struggle with N.K. Jemisin's work, except for one novel in her short story, well, some of her short story collection. I haven't necessarily liked her fiction, but I'm hoping this will be an improvement, or this Bell Redemption. Moving on to manga, I'm planning on, and this will be the first of the Bell Redemptions because I will be reading this on Friday, is Tokyo Revengers by Ken Wakui. This is the story of a young man who develops the ability to travel back into the past. And as he travels back into the past, he tries to change the fates of his friends who, in the present, all live horrible, crappy lives. I love the artwork, but the story I didn't quite like. Hopefully, rereading it will change my opinion on it. That does happen sometimes, so we shall see. Now, the next two books are nonfiction, and I didn't quite have the best nonfiction November. Some of the books I read I loved, but a lot of them I either really didn't or I ended up bailing on. So I don't know necessarily if I really want to read any nonfiction in December. So I'll keep these as possibilities, but if I decide not to, then I'll switch them out for the last few books that I will talk about. So the two works of nonfiction and works of history that I had hoped to bail redeem, not entirely sure if I will get to them, are Ravenna by Judith Herren. This is a history of medieval Ravenna, which was for a time the capital of the Roman Empire. I bailed on it relatively early because I just did not quite like the first chapter. And I hope to, at some point, do a bail redemption of Lakota America by Pekka Hamalainen. This is a history of the Lakota peoples. And I read it, and I think I got about halfway through, and I kind of got bored. And I'm hoping maybe rereading it, I will have a different experience. And that sometimes does happen. Best example is Iran: A Modern History by Abbas Amanat. I found when I first read it, the introduction and first chapter combined really bored me. And so I bailed on it for about a year, and then I came back to it and I loved it. Although the introduction is still rather bad, but I mean, the rest of the book I loved. So, anyway. Now, for the three books that I have as sort of possibilities depending on whether or not I want to do the two nonfiction books. First up is Lot by Bryan Washington. This is a short story collection that I read in, I think it was 2020. And it came out in 2018 because I read Memorial in 2019. No? Or did I read this last year? I might have read this last year. I don't remember. Anyway, exactly when I bailed on it. But I got a good way through, and it's just there's this. Some of the stories are sort of linked, and that linked story eventually kind of put me off of the collection. But I'm hoping a reread might change things. And similar to to Wonderland, this is a book that I've had a few goes at, and that is The Lesser Bohemians by Eimear McBride. This is the story of an Irish drama student who's come to London to study drama, who gets involved with an older actor. I've read this, I think, twice, and the style puts me off, but I'm going to give it another go and see if I like it any better. And moving back to science fiction and fantasy, well, fantasy, really, I'm going to bail redeem, hopefully, Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. This is the first book in the Hamalainen Book of the Fallen series. I want to say I had a go at this the first time, around the same time I bailed on the 5th season. And I've wanted to have another go at this. I mean, it's a big book as part of a big, long series. And I really need to have another go at it, see if I like it on a reread, and if I don't, send it off somewhere because, yeah, they're just taking up space otherwise. So that is my revised and official announcement, I guess, for my bail redemption December. Wish me luck. Hopefully I do manage to bail redeem many of these books, but if not, oh well. So anyway, BookTube, that's all I've got for at least this block of filming. I will be back later on, I think, with my Kindle prize prediction, because I really want to get that in, and I've kind of neglected it. So go ahead and do that. It'll probably be a quick video because I've kind of already talked a bit about that in other videos. So anyway, BookTube, until I see you then, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.